All right, so in this section, we'll be taking a look at old art because understanding the history of art is the important key to appreciating modern art. We will look at some key points throughout Western art history that led us to this point where concept takes over for craftsmanship. That helps us to explain why the Mark Rothko painting and the Willem de Kooning painting are so appreciated. It's because of the idea behind them and not so much the way they were made. Whereas with old art, craftsmanship, the way things were made, was sort of the superior feature of art. So we're going to see sort of where and how that transition happens. So first we need to take a look at what were the rules. Before modern art, so before the 1860s, we're going to call all of that art classical art. And in general, ever since ancient Greek times, there were two basic sort of unwritten rules that art followed. And for number 8, we're going to call the first rule the subject rule. The subject of art is the stuff that the art is representing. So the subject here and the sculpture on the right is the Greek goddess Aphrodite. Classical art, starting with ancient Greece, mandated that artists could only depict certain subjects. And the first subject they were allowed to depict were things that were religious. So, again, the Venus de Milo here, Aphrodite actually, she fits the religious theme because she is a Greek goddess. Artists were also allowed to depict things that were historical, especially things that were historically important. And it's important here to note that everything to us seems like it's historical just because it looks old. But you have to put yourself in the mind of the person who is making the art. Was it historically important for them? So if they're showing an emperor who's riding into battle, that is something that would be historically important. And the third subject that artists could only make has to do with the elite. The elite figures of society are people who have money and power and fame. So think about monarchs like kings and queens, certain political figures like the Medici banking family of the Renaissance. Those are figures who are considered elite. So in general, up until the 1860s, these are the subjects that art showed. There's a second rule that was also really important. This is number 9, and we're going to call it the craftsmanship rule. And the craftsmanship rule states that classical art also had to be painted or sculpted with absolute perfection and realism. If you look again at the Venus de Milo here, she is perfect and realistic. And it's especially impressive that this artist was able to take a really dense rock, like marble, and turn it into something that appears to be really soft, like human flesh and flowing drapery. That takes a lot of skill to make something that looks that perfect and realistic, especially out of marble. Interesting little fact about the Venus de Milo. She's one of the world's most famous sculptures. And you might be thinking, well, she's really failed the craftsmanship rule. She doesn't even have arms. However, she used to have arms. They're just lost. She's actually made up of over 200 different pieces. And she was found on the Greek island of Milos in the Aegean Sea. And somewhere in transportation, her arms just got lost. So try not to hold it against the artist for the fact that she doesn't currently have arms. She would have had arms once upon a time. For kicks and giggles, I wanted to show you this advertisement really quick.